And howdy, everybody.
Howdy.
Howdy, Ashley.
Hello.
So today we are finally continuing on with our series, The Republic, the Seven-Headed Beast. And today is Common Symbols. So what we did is we decided to each pick out 5 symbols that were shared by both the Republic of Rome and the Republic of the United States. And you got your 5 symbols?
I do.
And I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we just discussed this. We're just having this conversation again for your benefit.
We're pretending.
We're pretending. Cut. Okay. Anyways, let's go ahead into it. Let's get right to it.
Okay.
And Ashley's going to go first. Ladies first. So we will. Oops. There we go. All right. I know it's one of these. So you'll go first, and then just go ahead and read through what you have, and then we'll go through what I have, and then we'll, I guess, have a discussion after.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right. So the 5 common symbols that I found are the following. And the first one is the eagle, and they called it Aquila. Rome incorporated the eagle as a symbol for strength and was also used by their Roman legions. The eagle was considered divine and was also associated with the god Jupiter. In 1782, the U.S. established the eagle as its great seal, and it represented both war and peace because they have the olive branch in one talon and arrows in the other. The second one that I found was the obvious obelisk. In 37 AD, Gaius Caligula brought the largest 25.5 meters tall, non-inscribed obelisk from Egypt to Rome. Rome took the obelisks from Egypt in order to claim Egypt as its own possession. And the obelisk is tied to the Egyptian sun god Ra. Because the obelisks were also used to commemorate pharaohs, Roman rulers followed suit to honor themselves, and they would name the obelisks after themselves. Between 1848 and 1884, an obelisk was built in the U.S. as a tribute to George Washington's military leadership from 1775 to 1783. Also known as the Washington Monument, it's the largest obelisk in the world at 152.4 meters tall. Regardless of who or what the obelisks are immortalizing, they were erected and carefully situated so that the rising and setting sun would illuminate their peaks to honor the sun god. The third one I found, I think Jonathan found this one too, was obviously the Statue of Liberty. Rome called it Libertas. It was also a representation of Venus. It was the ancient Roman goddess adopted by the Romans, possibly as early as the 5th century BC. She was referred to as the goddess of personal freedom and liberty. From ancientpages.com, they quote, "This goddess was the goddess of freedom because she promoted the ideals for the personal freedom to do anything that felt good. She was called the matron goddess of prostitution because she promoted sexual freedom, and she had invented the concept. Slaves considered her their goddess in the hopes of winning their freedoms. Many women who gained freedom later turned to prostitution to survive, and thereby retained Libertas as their goddess, especially if they became priestesses in the Libertas cult. Libertas was also a goddess of war in order to fight for freedom. She was also referred to at times as the goddess of victory because freedom must have victory in order to survive. This goddess was also the goddess of immigrants. The doctrine of this goddess was salvation by holy sexual relations with a temple priest or priestess in order to purify and sanctify oneself." Also from ancientpages.com, she was also known as the goddess of war because she fights for freedom and liberty. She was also known as the goddess of victory because there is no freedom without victory. She was also known as the goddess of love because of her sexuality and her promotion of all types of sexual perversion in the name of freedom. Her motto was, "If it feels good, do it." And I thought it sounded like Aleister Crowley's famous quote of "Do it thou wilt." "Liberty Enlightening the World" is the title of the Statue of Liberty. It was gifted to the U.S. by France in 1886 to celebrate 100 years of U.S. independence. The statue is said to represent the Roman goddess of freedom. Liberty is illustrated in the broken chains at its feet, and the crown represents enlightenment along with a torch in one hand. The other hand holds a tablet to symbolize law, with the date of the Declaration of Independence inscribed in Roman numerals. And another site noted that It had nothing to do with God's law, but the law of the country, even though some people try to attribute it to that. Originally, the torch was not in the artist's plan for the statue. It was supposed to be a cup filled with a wine of freedom. However, New York port authorities requested it be changed to an eternal light source for navigational purposes. The artist consented to the change. This goddess can be traced back to different cultures and under the guise of many familiar names such as Ishtar in Babylon, Ashtoreth in Hebrew, Aphrodite in Greek, Ashtaroth in Canaan, Isis in Egypt, Inanna or Ninana in Sumeria, with the meaning Queen or Lady of Heaven. And the fourth one, I think it's pronounced the Fasces. Is that how you say it, Jonathan?
Yes.
Okay. Fasces are a symbol of official authority in ancient Rome. Fasces is derived from the plural form of the Latin fascis, which means a bundle. According to Britannica, fasces symbolized penal power. When carried inside Rome, the axe was removed, unless the magistrate was a dictator or general celebrating a triumph, as recognition of the right of a Roman citizen to appeal a magistrate's ruling. Many offices and bodies in the U.S. have integrated depictions of the fasces into much of their icons. The image to the right is in the chambers of the U.S. House of Representatives. And the last one I found is the staff of Asclepius. According to healthywaymag.com, in Greek mythology, Asclepius was the son of Apollo, god of arts and associated with medicine, and a mortal woman named Coronis. Asclepius' staff is depicted as a serpent entwined rod and is associated with healing and medicine. In 293 BC, the Romans adopted the cult of Asclepius due to the plague. Per Britannica, a similar but unrelated emblem, the caduceus, with its winged staff and intertwined serpents, is frequently used as a medicinal emblem but is without medical relevance since it represents the magic wand of Hermes, or Mercury, the messenger of the gods and the patron of trade. AncientOrigins.net states that according to the Romans, Apollo requested that Asclepius be placed amongst the stars, which was granted by Zeus, turning the former healer into the constellation Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. The staff of Asclepius is the true symbol of medicine, though the caduceus is also used. And the staff of Asclepius can be found on many medical icons in the U.S. The AMEDD flag is pictured below. And those are the 5 that I found.
Well, that is pretty amazing. Excuse me. There's also fasces in at the throne, on the throne that Lincoln is sitting upon on the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look that up in a few minutes maybe for people. So this is what I came up with. Dun, dun, dun.
I'm sorry about my cuckoo clock too. It's loud.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry about the cuckoo clock. It's kind of loud.
Oh, I can't hear it.
Okay, good.
But I'm a mite bit deaf. Okay. So I too came up with the eagle. And I chose this double-headed eagle for a very specific reason. Because of when we were studying the additions to Esther. Was it the additions to Esther or was it Esdras? No, it was Esdras.
Yeah, it was
talking about the eagle and the right head going to eat the left head, which will leave us with a single head. Something yet to come. All right. Anyways, so this has been used. That was used throughout the Roman Empire, as you noted, and the Roman Republic, as well as the United States. And this one I thought was interesting. It has all the same symbology you were talking about, the arrows with the olive leaves. But then here we have the stars and what people will hear me refer to as the altar of red, white, and blue. And some people have found in research that if it's a true eagle, its head is smooth. It's rounded.
Yeah.
But if it's pointed on the back like this is, that's actually a phoenix.
Yeah.
that they're trying to represent there. The next one that I found was the globe, or the globus, as the Romans called it. Now, this is a symbol of authority. Here we have a statue of Caesar holding a globus, and another one with a man standing upon it. But then they decided to take that into Christianity, the globus. And it symbolized the world. Have the whole world in his hands, right?
Mm.
And then here's another one. I forget who they claim this is now. Now they say it's a saint, but they just basically redecorated a statue of a god and put a cross on top of the globus. And now it's Christian. So what do we have with the globe today? Well, we're inundated with it from the time we're very small children, right? And everybody's seen one of these models that's properly tilted to 66.6 degrees from 90 degrees straight up, right? No, it's funny, they always say the Earth is tilted off its axis. What is it, 23.4 degrees? And nobody ever does 90 minus 23.4. Okay, so anyways, it's just something that features prominently both in the Society of Rome and the Society of the United States. Actually, everywhere on the Earth, almost at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after the globus, we have Mars. Now, culturally, Mars was the god of war, right? So now we have two gods of war, and god and goddess, but also the god of agriculture. Now, when Augustus Caesar was made Caesar, or dictator for life over all the Roman Empire, after his uncle Julius, that they attached Mars to the position of Caesar or Kaiser. And it's interesting because Kaiser is also found in a majority of languages around the world, pronounced as Kaiser, which is real interesting. But anyways, Mars was hugely important, right? Because at that time, war and agriculture were very much linked together. And we can kind of see that now in the sense that at least the past couple of wars we've been in, there have been people at play that are linked to the agriculture of growing poppies. Opium poppies, to be specific. So where do we see Mars now? Oh, that's right. We in the United States, keep saying we, but the United States culture is presently worshiping Mars as the planet, as a goal, as something to strive for and to be in touch with. And I just wanted to comment how nice it is for those Martians to send us photos of the rovers that are sent up there.
You must have a drone following it to take pictures.
That this is not Greenland dyed red, okay? It is not. And wherever you heard that, they're wrong, you Trump supporter. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Trump wants to go to Mars too. So after Mars, I chose Luna, who is also called the Queen of Heaven, which is interesting. But I don't know if everybody can see this, but there's a little crescent moon up on her head, on Luna's head there, as she's driving her chariot across the sky. And once again, like Mars, this is something that the United States puts in its crown of glory. We've been to the moon. And I don't know if you can see it. This also Kokopelli. If you can see that, kind of hunched over with his head over here and the flute that he's playing. It's easier to see in other pictures, which is interesting because the river winds believe that Kokopelli and Kokobel in Enoch, Enoch, are the same, or one and the same person, a fallen entity. But now everybody's saying we need to go to the moon and set up a moon base so we can go to Mars. And it's just, it's taking people's attention and focusing it there. And it's a type of worship, whether people want to admit it or not. And then again, I too got Libertas. Now this is a rendition very similar to the Statue of Liberty. And remember the 12 laws? That's what she's holding there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some other information that I found on Libertas is it played into her deity, played into each person being sovereign, which, if you remember back earlier in the series of the Republic, that was a huge thing. Every man is considered sovereign. And with your sovereign vote, you take your sovereignness and cast it for one person to be the leadership over all. Of course, that changes once you get from Republic to Empire. But then, this is a classical version here, even though there's one erected in the New York City harbor. There's a more modern one, a neo-liberty. Dun dun dun. Look, back to that red, white, and blue. So this is Greater Columbia. But Columbia is the new name for this goddess that they bestowed upon her. And where's the capital of the United States? Don't say between Virginia and Maryland. It's in the District of Columbia. So those are the 5 that I came up with or chose to.
She had an interesting looking hat.
Her hat? You like her hat, huh?
No.
Oh.
It kind of looks like a Santa or elf hat.
A Santa elf?
Yeah.
A self. And now we're back to do, right? Self, do as thou wilt. So, very interesting. What questions or comments do you have? I want to go back and look over yours again because I had something up higher.
So the globe thing, did you find any more information as to when? Do you know if the Romans believed the Earth was a ball, or if they knew it was an enclosed system, but they represented it as a ball?
Their mythology borrowed heavily from the Greeks, and this is where we get Atlas, right? Like his punishment was to carry the world on his shoulders.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way that they looked at it. And there's other things about it too, but it fit into their mythological cosmos quite well.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting that it has to be a part of everything in our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning U.S. culture.
Yeah.
And
I was going to ask but just wonder if there's a connection between the Queen of Heaven and Libertas, if they're interchangeable or if they're totally different entities.
Right. Well, the Queen of Heaven started out originally as Semiramis, right? So
Okay.
Nimrod's prostitute wife
Hmm.
was the original Queen of Heaven. And then, of course, her name, they just changed it through various cultures. After the separating of the nations of the
Mhm.
peoples at the Tower of Babel, she got all these other names, and they're all talking about the same person.
Yeah.
So here we go. I wanted to share this. Not being picky, but our obelisk is bigger. Now, you gave your measurements in meters.
Hmm.
Have you seen? Did you come across anything saying how high it is feet wise?
I know it has something to do with 666. But then there are articles out there saying it's not really
It's
that
not
they,
really that.
yeah.
Okay.
Which I was trying to condense everything because I already had a ton of information already on Libertas. So, but now I wish I had added that.
So it's supposed to be, I think, 550 feet tall.
Hmm.
If that is, which if that's correct, and you multiply 550 feet by 12 inches per foot, yeah, it says 555 feet tall. That comes out to 6,660 inches.
That's a crazy coincidence.
Yeah, it is a crazy coincidence. So let me go back through this. Yeah, it's kind of crazy though. The way they do this. You dug up some information that I found interesting about Libertas too. I didn't know about the freed lady slaves commonly going to become temple prostitutes,
Hmm.
which is kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
I did find there was also a type of hat that a freed slave would be granted, kind of like you, not a beret like the French wear, but like a floppy
Hmm.
Italian baker hat type thing. And a freed slave would be given this type of hat, and then they would put her image on there to denote that they were a freed slave, which I thought that was kind of interesting. And then the Venus connection too that you put in there was also very interesting, because we could just go straight to Venus and how prevalent that is in our culture right now with Starbucks, among other things.
Razors, Starbucks.
Yep, Starbucks, razors. Yeah, what's the thing? It's like the feminine power.
Yeah.
Be your own goddess type thing, which plays back into everyone's a sovereign on their own.
Hmm.
Everybody has to answer only to themselves. You can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Any other questions or comments?
Oh, you were saying that the eagle, you had the two-headed eagle, and you don't believe that the one side hasn't eaten the other eagle's head yet.
No, I don't, because in Esdras, that to me it sounds like political parties fighting, right?
Okay.
We have a common analogy today saying that they're both, right and left. It's the same two wings of the same bird. Well, that would play out with that that prophecy. And I think we're going to see the left head get eaten up very soon. And I've said for quite a while now that I believe we're headed worldwide, we're headed to nationalism.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that, in my opinion, prophecy can be fulfilled of the nations being gathered together for war.
Mm-hmm.
Which all the lefties got that globe in their hand. They want to rule the world. We shall see.
Yeah.
And that, okay, so this is longer than usual. But at any rate, thank you very much for the research and work you put into this, Ashley.
No problem.
And we're looking at taking this series in a different direction. So it's still going to be the Republic, but we're going to be looking at the Republic versus the kingdom. We're supposed to be preaching the gospel of the kingdom and repentance of sins. And there's a lot of similarities, right? Satan likes to copy, the dragon likes to copy God. As Landon pointed out, but I wrongly attributed to someone else, that, Lucifer, the king of Tyre, said in his heart, I shall ascend on high and be like the Almighty, depending on the translation you look at.
Mm-hmm.
So those will be short little comparisons also, I hope.
That'll be good.
I hope so. Hopefully you'll help out with that too.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you again, Ashley, and thank you everybody for tuning in. We're very grateful to have you here. Stay strong and keep Abba first and Yeshua. Love you all. Bye.